Why are Koreans boycotting Starbucks? What if a Starbucks advertisement accidentally reminded an entire nation of military dictatorship and one of the bloodiest moments in modern Korean history? That's exactly what happened in South Korea. And now Starbucks is facing nationwide outrage, boycott calls, and accusations of exploiting historical trauma. Every year on May 18th, South Koreans honor the victims of the Gwangju Uprising, a pro-democracy movement violently crushed by the military government in 1980. For many Koreans, it's not just history. It's trauma that still shapes the country today. But during this year's memorial period, Starbucks Korea launched a promotional campaign that many people believed crossed a serious line. And one phrase in particular triggered massive backlash: Tank Day. To international viewers, that might sound harmless. But in South Korea, tanks and military vehicles are deeply associated with dictatorship, state violence, and the massacre of civilians. To understand why people reacted so strongly, we first need to understand what happened in Gwangju. In May 1980, citizens in the city of Gwangju protested against South Korea's military dictatorship led by Chun Doo-hwan that took power after the assassination of President Park Chung-hee in 1979. Students and civilians rose up demanding democracy after Chun Doo-hwan's military regime imposed martial law and arrested opposition leader Kim Dae-jung, who would later become president of South Korea. The government responded by sending in soldiers. Armed troops violently suppressed the uprising. They brutally cracked down on civilians demanding democracy. According to official South Korean government's records, 191 people were killed and 852 were injured during the Gwangju uprising. For many Koreans, the images of military trucks and soldiers in the streets became symbols of fear, violence, and state oppression. And even more than 40 years later, those memories have never fully disappeared. When former President Yoon Suk-yeol recently declared martial law, many Koreans said it revived painful memories of the country's authoritarian past. Shortly before the May Memorial Day, Starbucks Korea released a promotional campaign containing wording Tank Day that critics believed resembled scenes from the Gwangju uprising. In addition, the phrase "bang on the desk" made many Koreans angry because it reminded many of the case of Park Jong-chul. Park Jong-chul was a university student and democracy activist who died during police torture in 1987 under South Korea's authoritarian government. At the time, the police tried to cover up his death by claiming "bang on the desk" and he suddenly died. The statement became one of the most infamous symbols of government lies and authoritarian brutality. Park Jong-chul's death later sparked massive nationwide protests that helped end military dictatorship and led Korea toward democracy. And as the controversy spread, outrage quickly exploded across Korean online communities and social media. Many Koreans felt the phrase was horrifyingly insensitive, especially during a national remembrance period. Photos began circulating online showing people destroying Starbucks products, throwing away drinks, and publicly announcing boycotts. As public backlash intensified, Shinsegae Group that operates Starbucks Korea stepped in directly. Chairman Jung Yong-jin reportedly issued a public apology. Shinsegae Group publicly apologized for what it described as inappropriate marketing and eventually removed the head of Starbucks Korea. Unlike in many countries, Starbucks Korea is not directly operated by Starbucks headquarters in the United States. Instead, it is controlled by Shinsegae Group, one of South Korea's largest retail corporations, originally connected to the Samsung business family. Starbucks Korea later claimed the controversial wording was part of a short-term promotion for tank-themed tumblers, but the company quickly suspended the campaign as public outrage intensified. But for many Koreans, the damage had already been done, because in South Korea, references to military violence and dictatorship are not viewed as distant history. They are still living memories.